What up, T Squad? It's your girl Keisha, and today I will be reacting to Simone, a former contestant from Ready to Love, who is also an attorney, video where she interviews Christian Jennifer Williams from Basketball Wives Fiancé's baby mama. Now, I did not know he had two baby mamas. I thought he just had one, but I watched like the first 5 minutes of this and my mouth was just on the floor already because it was certain information that I wasn't even privy to. But yeah, this is a lot. Sit back and relax and let's get into this tea, honey.
Hey, Christian sued me. I'm sorry, correction. Christian sent me a cease and desist letter. And in that cease and desist letter, I want to make sure, good. Okay. Here we go. In that cease and desist letter, he was very clear he did not want this interview to take place today, but we're going to move forward and we're going to move forward within the boundaries of the law. Here's what that means. What that means is I responded to Christian's attorneys and I simply said, listen, this is a channel for infotainment. This is a channel where we talk about legal tea, legal gossip, and we do so accurately. So if there's anything that I've said that's been incorrect, you are welcome to clarify what statements it is that you believe need to be corrected. In the meantime, we're sharing today our opinions. And who I have today is Christian's child's mother. Now, Christian has 3 kids. He's got a child that he had in high school, and he has 2 toddlers, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. So, who we're speaking to.
Now, this was what gagged me. He got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old? I think he might have mentioned that on Basketball Wives, and I think I might have talked about it in one of my reviews, but just hearing it again hit different because how long have him and Jen been together? I know they've been together now for a year, but they had to have been like messing around now for at least maybe about a year and a half, which basically means he was still either with the baby mama or it was while she was pregnant with the second child. It's some overlapping. It's some, why are you with this man and he got 2 kids under the age of 3 with this one woman? He literally was either getting ready to have his 3rd child or had his 3rd child when y'all got together. Like, why are you even involving yourself in this foolishness? Jennifer is an idiot, but let's continue.
Today is the mother of those toddlers. Now, before she comes on, I also want to let you know, I encouraged her to be anonymous as a result of the fact that both she is a victim and the victimization has not ended. And in this instance, as it relates to her safety and the safety of her children, I think we can all agree that that should come first. Now, I have confirmed her identity. I confirmed that she's who she said she is. I confirmed a variety of facts before I ever had my first conversation with her. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. If you could hit that like button and make sure you also hit that notification button. All right, Anonymous, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Simone. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to check some of these comments that came on in. Rachi said, Simone, stay on his neck. Keep fighting for the victims. Thank you. Thank you.
Obviously, he didn't want her to do this interview because he had something to hide. If you've been telling the truth this whole time, then why did you send Simone a cease and desist? It's giving guilty.
Thank you. Because remember, guys, tomorrow is the big hearing. And I want to give a shout out to Make It Make Sense, who is one of the moderators in this chat, but also from his comments, I was able to see.
Also, you guys, this video aired when this dropped 7 days ago.
That I had not apparently hit that go live button. So again, apologies, but we're going to jump into this. And the first thing I'm going to ask you to explain is, from your perspective, why did you decide to do the interview today and to do so without showing your face?
So for one, it's always been about protecting my kids. They're very young, and already there's been things that I haven't had control over because their father has, been on national TV. There's been things that have been said, mentions of my children. So I've been really trying to protect them. And then also this whole process, even with all that I had experienced in the relationship was very, hard for me mentally, emotionally. So trying to protect my mental health. And then the reason that I decided it was time to move forward was because actually, just to give a little bit more details, the victims had reached out to me personally, and we had a conversation, and hearing the stories and then also seeing what was happening, I felt like if there was any way that I could come out and share my truth and help, then I wanted to serve and do that. So.
All right. And
Yeah.
I'm going to note, you see at the bottom of my side is the hashtag Hattie's Brown Girls. Hattie's Brown Girls is a nonprofit that was created to help women who are suffering domestic violence and abuse at the hands of their partner. And so if you want to support Anonymous, which is Christian, the mother of Christian's younger children, if you want to support her anyway, you are welcome to support via that Cash App, or I'm also going to update the description and put a link in there too, because as you're going to hear, part of her struggle is moving on because of the fact that despite this man's $6 million net worth, according to him, he doesn't believe he should pay child support. He doesn't believe he should support his children at all. And he's been extremely inconsistent in their lives. So would that generally be accurate before we get into too much detail, Anonymous?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So let's just start from the beginning. Approximately what year did you first meet Christian?
So we met it was actually the end of 2020 coming into 2021.
Okay.
Yes.
And you met through business, right?
Yes. So we used to be a part of a network marketing company, and I had been there for several years. He joined around that time. I want to say it was about 2020. And he already had people that I knew that were close to him that were in the company. So he joined, and just by association, we had connected and got to know each other more.
In your ages, well, we know Jennifer is about 20 years older than he is. What's your age in relation to Christian's?
So I'm 35. There's a 5-year difference between us.
Okay, gotcha. So closer in age. Now you met in the MLM. And one of the things that we talked about kind of beforehand when I was listening to your story and verifying, everything beforehand was that there's certain themes that seem to be running through here, which is like a lot of times narcissists, they like to pick the super successful women within this organization. Weren't you one of the top sellers breaking records?
I was, yes. I was very successful with the company. I had made multiple 6 figures with the company at a young age. I consider, in my 20s, and I continued to grow and have a lot of success. I had a really big team. So I did very well for myself there.
Yeah. Over 300,000 in revenue, correct?
Yes.
I can say back then. Okay. And so he found out about this. And do you think that at all impacted his desire to want to date you and pursue you?
Most definitely. I feel I was a target. I do.
Why do you feel that way?
Because from knowing patterns, and the more that I learned about covert narcissism, I'll throw that out there, just understanding patterns and behaviors, I would identify, even though I can't diagnose anyone, I would identify that he carried those same patterns and characteristics of studying me and knowing what my likes were and finding different ways to relate to me so that I would be even more attracted to him and connect with him on a personal level and gain my trust.
Mm-hmm. Could you give us like some examples of how he did that in your dating phase before the kids?
Of course. So I've always been a community advocate, and I've always been big on pouring into people and giving to the community. And so we lived, we had, our apartments were super close to each other. So we got together and just.
Much like him and Jennifer lived in the same building, and that's how he got on her. It's quite a coincidence that they lived close to one another too.
Decided that we were just going to give money to the homeless. And he knew that I was big on things like that. So he came around with me and was giving to the homeless. Also because he knew that I love to travel, and he would always say, okay, let's travel together. Let's do this. But it was always about, spending money and really showing off and doing certain things that we couldn't really afford. But it was about, creating an image.
Now, when you first started dating, was he financially successful as you were in the company, doing six figures and the like?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. What made you still interested in him? And I guess comparatively speaking, what was he earning versus, what you were bringing in?
So based off of his title in the company, I would say maybe about $1,000 to $2,000 a month, in however you would calculate that. But
okay, what was he doing for the rest of his money? Because you can't really survive on that unless you like selling bussy or something else. I don't know. We'll get to that.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Right. To be honest, I don't know as far as what other revenues he had, but I do know that because we were in a company that helped people get their credit together, I knew that he had fixed up his credit and he was able to obtain things with his credit at the time.
Interesting. Okay, like what is it? Those using CPN numbers and things like that.
So with his credit, I knew that he legitimately was able to get credit cards and purchase things off of his credit. So work with companies like Visa, American Express, and things like that. I know that at that time he was in a good place from what I understood at the time, but we'll talk more about that later as far as what I think that was.
Now, do you think, when you say, so what I'm just trying to establish is how do you think he was maintaining his lifestyle? And it sounds like he may have been maintaining it with debt. Is that maybe your understanding? Okay.
And then also, I believe that there were other people supporting his lifestyle. I know because I believe that he was a good person. I was supporting him. I would give him money to help him do things as far as, traveling and eating out and things like that. I would pay for things. So,
girl, you are preparing for this man. Now, I watched Jennifer and Christian's interview with Carlos, and she kept on emphasizing that, I saw him doing his stock trading or whatever he's supposed to be doing for a living, and I saw him make $50,000 within 2 minutes or whatever. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Okay, he did that. What I'm getting from Christian, because he says he has clients that he makes money for. I think that how he's maintaining this so-called lifestyle with Jennifer and making her believe that he got all this money is, I think that he's working with these people, taking their money and allegedly supposed to be investing it for them. But I think that he's using that money to have this lifestyle and make it seem like he got all this money, but he's really scamming these people and taking their money. I feel like what he's doing is very equivalent to what Tom Girardi started doing, where he started taking his clients' lawsuit earnings, from when they would sue these big corporations, and then he started taking these people money to maintain his lifestyle for him and Erica Girardi, right? I think that's what Christian is doing on a much lower scale or whatever, but it seemed like with this chick, he wasn't even on that level with her. He had a little bit of something, I guess, with credit cards. And then, like she said, getting money from other people, might have been women, men, who knows, or him scamming other people. But she was even helping him financially. And I think that the reason why she helped him financially, because she saw that, he had money to do this, that, and the third. So she wasn't thinking like, I'm being used because he's doing stuff for me too. But it's just a whole web of deceit, child.
because I'm putting my money out there. Say that again, Simone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, why, like, how would he encourage? Because like, I can understand like supporting a man financially to like open a business, right? Mm-hmm. But when it came to just, I guess, social things that are not necessary, like at this point, of course, y'all hadn't had children yet. How was he able to encourage you or convince you to hand over your checks, hand over your money and share with him?
So what I realized that my relationship with him was almost, I would relate it to being almost like on a high for a temporary moment, feeling like, okay, this person is showering you with, gifts and giving you things and making you feel loved and accepted. And for all of those people that are listening, if you're someone that has grown up with abandonment issues and different things like that, when you have someone coming into your life that you believe truly cares about you based off of what they're showing you.
Basically, he was love bombing her emotionally and financially. He came into the picture, whining and dining her, buying her things, making her feel like he had financial stability when all along he did not. So then when he started asking her for money, she like, well, he done did such and such and such for me. So she not looking at it like I'm being used and being set up, but really in reality, that's what he was doing. So then she starts giving him money and more money and more money. And then next thing she knows, she look up one day and this nigga ain't doing nothing for her no more. You know what I'm saying? She's the one that's taking care of everything. He's a user, and that's probably what he was doing.
And learning everything about you and finding things that are relative, you start to believe like, oh, wow, this person cares about me. And for me as a woman who is a nurturer, I'm like, okay, once a person shows me that, I just want to give them more. I want to do more. Mm-hmm. And that was the position that I was in. I just wanted to help him, thrive in life and support him because I felt like he truly loved and cared about me.
And she's saying it's like why was it?
No, in my experience, when I've dealt with love bombers, like in the beginning, they'll make an expensive purchase or what appears to be an expensive purchase to kind of lure you in or take you on a trip or whatever to love bomb you. Were you love bombed? And at all, could you tell us like some examples?
What was interesting about my story is, Simone, is that I've never been a person that needed like designer things. I've always been a very simple girl. And for me, it was about quality time. It was about, just showing that he, supported me, just making sure that like I had that, time spent and going out on dates and things like that were what was more important to me than the fancy things, the gifts and the cars and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, that's perfect for a broke man, because since he ain't got it and you don't require it, he can just shower you with love bombing. Mm-hmm. Y'all, in doing the kind of pre-research I did just to confirm her identity in the story, I looked at some photos of the two of you guys together over the years. And there is like this cutest photo. I think you were getting an award for something from your company, and you were just as cute and pregnant, I think with your first child. And it was the award ceremony. He looked like he was there, and he was just really like supporting and encouraging you. So is that like an example of the kind of support and things that he was providing in the beginning that really swept you off your feet?
Yes. And being in a business where, you're a mentor and a leader, you also want to know that the person that you're with, that's there by your side, has that same drive. And he portrayed that he had that same drive as me, that he was, big on helping everybody succeed. And so seeing that, I believe that, oh, wow, like this is my person, which now I know was not smart. I know that was not, now that I've gone through the healing process, I know that was not smart, but that was really what I believed was true.
Absolutely, girl. I've done so many dumb things in dating. It's not it's going to be a book one day. It's going to be its own book. How long did y'all date before you moved in together?
We dated. It was quick. It was about It was about 3 or 4 months.
Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, describe what his apartment or wherever his living situation was like, to your knowledge, before y'all moved in together.
So to my knowledge, allegedly, he was not the person that obtained that apartment. He had that apartment obtained for him. And
by a woman?
I had my own apartment.
Did a woman get that apartment for him?
Allegedly.
Okay. Allegedly. Yes. That's what, you guys, I'm wearing my allegedly shirt today. Yes. Just in honor of Christian and the cease and desist letter that he had served on me this morning. That'll be for a different video. But okay, so that makes sense. What I'm getting at here is this seems like a recurring theme in that the same thing with Jennifer. She talked about he bought her this Rolex at the beginning of the relationship, which is very interesting. You can buy a Rolex, but you can't pay your child support. We'll talk about that. But he gets her this Rolex and then there was the Rolls Royce, these expensive things that really love bomb because unlike yourself, she's a person who wants things, and things will make her happy, is what she's discussed. That is of my opinion. Christian, it's my opinion. And here though with you, so he moves into your place. Now, it's my understanding you was living at a nice little high rise in the sky. It was super fancy in your name.
I was, yes.
Okay. So that's he loved scooting in with you. And kind of what was your understanding? When he moved in, then was he being the man and taking care of all the bills and stuff like he allegedly does with Jennifer?
So we actually, I found out that he had cheated on me. And so before I found out he cheated on me with another woman while I was pregnant. And so what actually happened was first we had broken up. And then
while you were living together?
No. So we were separate. So we were in the same area, but we both had our own apartments. Okay. That's when I was saying I had mine and then he had the apartment he was living in. So with that, when we
first pregnancy.
When we broke up, there was some time in between where I wasn't speaking to him, and then we got reconnected. Once again, I talk about feeling like being in that narcissistic relationship is almost like a drug because you miss that person, and it's like you need that fix again. So we got connected, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fight for my family. We'll work through this. I had already established a new apartment.
Now hold on, you say your family. I want to make sure I understand this timeline. Y'all moved in together after about 3 months of dating. And then how long after moving in did you get pregnant with the first child?
So I was already pregnant before we moved in together.
Damn. Okay, so you got pregnant about the first 3 months.
Yeah. I got pregnant.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then it was while you were pregnant, you discover he is cheating. I mean, that was fast. What a way to lock it in. Because let me say this. So, we grew up like my grandmother's generation was a generation, somebody gets you pregnant, they got to marry you. And then our mom's generation, some of our moms are married, some of them are not, whatever. One thing I've realized with this generation of men today, more than ever, I've seen men that will trap a woman in a minute. If they feel like you are doing very well financially, and therefore they're not going to have to worry, the assumption is, I don't have to worry about paying her child support. Hell, if anything, she might have to give me something because she is so secure.
My son's father literally told me that he didn't really trip off not paying his child support because he was like, you had it. You were successful. You over there writing books and stuff. I knew y'all was fine. I would check in, you know what I'm saying, I guess on social media and see that you was fine, living good. So I knew y'all was all right. Woo!
Sure. Do you think was he excited about the baby? Was he scared? I mean, because that was pretty quick to, get pregnant.
So originally he did not want to move forward. And so to answer your question, no, he wasn't.
Okay. Right. But he wasn't protecting himself either, clearly.
Right.
Okay. And so then you guys continue. So you're dating about 3 months. About how long into it after you find out you're pregnant do you find out he's cheating?
So I found out I was pregnant February. It was February the 7th. I remember calling my aunt that day. It was February the 7th of 2021. And I found out he cheated on me February 20th of 2021.
Wait. February 2nd was when you moved in?
February 7th is when I found out I was pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So we had not, at that point, I was pregnant, but we were not living together yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You moved in together, then knowing the baby was coming, and then you at the same time find out he's cheating.
Well, keep in mind, February 7th and February 20th are just a few days apart. So I found out that he had cheated on me just a few days after I found out I was pregnant.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
With some girl he had met on Instagram, with someone he met on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. And then what happens next with y'all's relationship? You then decide.
They're a few days apart. That's 2 weeks apart. Is she thinking the 17th? Maybe that's what she meant, is the 17th is the day she found out she was pregnant. Regardless, how are you having unprotected sex with somebody that you literally known for 5 seconds? And then why would you even be surprised that he cheated on you? Y'all didn't even know each other. Y'all didn't know each other at all. Y'all still should have been in the dating stage of things. Y'all moved so quickly. So you shouldn't even be surprised by it. You didn't know that man. He didn't know you. Now you knocked up and moving in with somebody you don't even freaking know at all. So she got to take accountability for her dumbness too.
All right, we're going to work through this and move in together.
Well, not that fast. So there were months in between when we weren't dealing with each other. His birthday is in June, and it wasn't until after June that we moved in together.
Oh, okay. So just to clarify the timeline, y'all, it was 3 months of dating that she discovers she's pregnant, and about 6 months of dating, meaning 3 more months later, that you guys decide to work it out and try to move in together. Correct?
Right. That's correct.
And so living together, is this the same building that he meets Jennifer in?
No, that came later.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let you keep going. So you guys are dating. How's the relationship going once you guys do move in together?
So it changes completely from what it was before, where I said it was, us traveling and having fun together. Once I got pregnant, everything shifted. It was a lot of just moments where he would just not even speak to me. He would go quiet, and he would go out and stay out till 3-4 o'clock in the mornings. I was home even by myself with the baby. If he was there, it wasn't a lot of support. He every now and then might get up and do something, but it was more so just him on his phone and engaged in, conversations with friends and going out partying with friends.
Okay. Did y'all ever try therapy?
I tried to get us to go to therapy several times, and he would not go.
Okay. What was his reason for not going?
So he felt like we didn't need to go to therapy. It wasn't necessary. He didn't trust therapy. He said that he had worked with a certain person before, and the only way he was going to go to therapy from jail was by himself. But listen, I don't know. He said that it was this person he dealt with before, and he would only feel comfortable going to them, and they weren't available, so he couldn't go. And he said he didn't want to go with me. He wanted to go by himself.
Girl, my God. Okay. Yeah. So I always say, like, any man who is completely opposed to therapy is a man who's not going to change. And so at that point, you just have to. I've loved many a man who will be like, yeah, I think therapy is great. Therapy's great. And then when it comes time for them to go to therapy, all of a sudden they get amnesia. Oh, no, I don't like it. And so you guys continue dating. The baby's there. Your first child, is it a boy or a girl?
A boy.
Okay. So were you kind of hoping that maybe bond more because you had a son and he's a guy? And
Oh, most definitely. I was hoping that there would be a real strong, stable connection, and he was going to show up for him. I did, and there were moments once again where I saw good things happening. He would spend time with him, but it wasn't consistent. I felt like he was always dedicated more to the world and what the world needed from him, or what he felt like he could gain from the world versus being at home and showing up for his own family.
For the world. So you mean like creating a persona for the public?
Right.
Full of shit. Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Now I gotta go there. I have to ask you. I'm the friend that asks what everybody else is thinking. And here my thought is, now he has a child that's about 10 years older than your child. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And was he active in that child's life, to your knowledge?
Based off of what was said to me, allegedly, when he finally got back in contact, and just out of respect for the mother, because I know I don't want to say too much about that, but I will say that based off of my role that I played in it, I was always encouraging that relationship. I was always saying that you need to show up for them. And then that it came a time where according to what was being shared with me, I believe that he was.
Okay, because he was telling you, or I'm just going to say, like, a lot of times men, either if they're not active, they'll be like, well, she won't let me and I want to, and I can't. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking you more from the perspective. A lot of people say, you should look at how they treat their other kids, their other children and their kids' mom to get an idea of how yours will be treated. Do you think that your kids are treated similarly?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yeah. If we had the opportunity to have a conversation, I'm sure we would identify a lot with one another. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Somebody said you're more intelligent than Jen.
She seems smart, but she life dumb.
So you're dating, you have the first child. Okay. Mm-hmm. And now you get pregnant with that second child pretty quickly. How did that come about, considering the relationship was a bit rocky?
Yeah. So once again, it was this moment of, what I felt like was, we're in a good place. We're communicating better. We're spending more time together. And so that became, we started to get back into, what people do to have kids. And that was a moment where it was unexpected. Most definitely it wasn't planned, but I had gotten pregnant again.
Girl, you fertile. So like how many months between you having your first? Was it like 6 months?
Yeah, so my son will be 3 on the 7th, and my daughter will be 2 on the 30th. They are 11 months and 23 days apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. He's fertile too. So he don't like condoms or what?
Listen, I love them. I have no problem with them at all. But at that time, I made some really
what about him?
Decisions. Yeah.
No, I'm asking about him too.
Oh, listen, I guess not. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess not. Yeah.
Now we have to ask, one of the elephant in the room kind of questions is, you got this budding relationship with him. What is your understanding of why he went to jail, and what did he tell you about the prior victim?
So my understanding was that it was a situation where it was the judge had it out for him, and the young lady who went to prison, which let me just fully disclose that I do not believe any of this now. But based off of what was shared at the time, it was a situation where she was, they were drinking and she was not in a good mental space. And so from that, she took action, and moved forward with, jumping off the balcony. And that's how she got hurt, because he left and she was trying to get him to stay. That was the story I was told.
Gotcha. Did he say anything about locking her on the balcony and then she couldn't get off the balcony? Did he include it?
Not at all. No, not at all. But that came out. That came out in the statement.
Yeah, in the transcript that we believe. So so basically, in his version, it sounds like it's fairly consistent with what he said on Basketball Wives and what he told to Jen, which was, here he is trying to be the savior. Right. He was trying to save her. He was trying to save her from drunk driving. And one of the crazy things about narcissists is they always want to be either the victim or the victor. They want to be a victim of a situation, or they're going to be your savior. But they don't ever want to be a villain. So I don't care what story it is, they're going to find a way to twist it so they are not the villain. And so, okay, here you hear that story. And so then, were you sympathetic or empathetic? Did you feel like, oh gosh, you should have never gotten that much time, or what have you?
In that situation, I felt like, if it was because let me say this, it wasn't just him convincing me that was the story. It was other people involved as well that were supporting that. And so, and that claimed that they were there, that they heard what happened. And so when that came out, so people were convincing me, okay, like the judge had it out for him, and it wasn't. So my mindset was, I've always, let me just say a little bit about my background before I met him. I've always been an activist against police brutality, and I've always been heavy in the community, like trying to keep, Black men out of prison. But that was like, so in my heart, I was like, oh man, I think that was unfair at the time, because that was truly what I believed was true. So I'll admit to that, most definitely.
Okay. But also, the more people that corroborate, the more reasonable, your expectations are. Before I ask this question, I wanted to ask you, now you mentioned there were others that corroborated, without naming names, of course. Were some of those people relatives?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Because he said he had a relative that came to get him and picked him up. So yeah, if you've got these other people that you trust as well corroborating it, I can totally understand. Now, celebrity scandalous is sassy. All right. I'm going to set up this question. Her question is, do you suspect that he could be the G word? Asking because the mutual friend that introduced him to Jen is very happy in that way. I forget that guy's name, but it was referenced in the Carlos King. And generally, I will say there is a general pattern that generally straight African-American men don't have besties who are gay. That's just generally the fact. The only time I've seen that is if they knew him pre-gay, or if they're related, like they cousin, they brother, something like that. But even then, they knew him pre-gay, but they don't usually. What do you think?
I don't know for sure. To be completely honest, I don't. I mean, with anybody, anything's possible. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Absolutely. Her opinion. My opinion is different. My opinion is, look at the pattern. I don't know any Black men that got besties that aren't gay, a little bit, sometimes like halfway gay. Oh, shoot. Hold on one second. I'm going to let you continue. Because I forgot I have to plug this sucker in, but keep, let me see. I'm going to pull myself down and I'm going to focus on you. But continue from the part where, all right, things are going a little better. You have the second child. Now, what ends up happening between the second child and then you guys ended?
So this is where, are you still there, Simone?
Yeah, I'm still here. Okay. I'm still here. I'm just plugging in my charger.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, so with my daughter, I had her in, like I mentioned, September 30th of 2022. And we were still dating at that time. I know, according to a recent interview, we had broken up, but we were still in a relationship at that time. Actually, he was at the hospital with me when I gave birth to my daughter. So that tells you enough there. And just so I know everybody's been asking about the process and how we broke up. So December 2nd I remember, I think it was an interview a while back, they had talked about when they met. And December 2nd, we had just gotten into a bad argument.
And December is when they claim that they met?
Well, I've heard December, September. Yeah.
Let's start with, when do you believe that they met?
I think they met way before December.
Yeah, because I've heard multiple interviews, and one of them was like a summertime or September date that they met.
And I will say this, Simone. So we had a phone plan together, and I was able to go back to the phone records when, we had got into our argument. I was trying to figure out what was going on because I felt like he had started dealing with somebody else, but he wasn't being honest. Mm-hmm. And I started trying to, dig and do my research, and I saw that number popping up on the record several times.
Around what month was that?
This was November, like early November.
Okay.
I want to say it was. Yeah.
And how old was your youngest baby?
She was only 2 months. She was just born September 30th. She was about 2 months. Yeah. Month and a half to 2 months old.
I can't imagine dating somebody with a 2-month-old. And at this time, you're still living together. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were still living together. His whole closet was full of clothes. Actually, all of his stuff was not moved out until late April.
Now, there was an incident where you believe Jennifer was in your apartment. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so several people that...
Wait. Pause it up. So if he's saying they got together in December, but he was still living with her up until April, girl, what? So Jennifer, you was okay with dating a man that literally just had a baby with somebody and still living with that person while they're dating you? Girl, I'm not about to play these games with these people. I'm not.
That lived in the apartment while we were out of town, me and my kids. Let me be specific. So me and my children were out of town visiting my family back at home. And we left. It was December 12th when we flew out. We spent Christmas and New Year's, and then we came back in January. When I got back, several people that lived in my building told me, they had it on camera, that she was entering into our apartment. Neighbors that lived in the same hallway saw them coming in and out of the apartment together. And they were bringing it to me because they felt bad because they knew we lived there.
With babies, with toddlers, with infants.
Yes. My kids' toys, cribs in there, my clothes in there. And when I got back home, I noticed it was weird, Simone, because everything was moved around to almost look like we didn't live there.
What do you mean we didn't live there?
Me and my children.
Oh, that a woman did not live there.
Yes. It was, everything was like hidden in the closet spaces, and the whole house was like redecorated. And I'm looking like, okay, what's going on here?
That's exactly what they do when they're cheating. Yeah, because if she saw your stuff around, then that would be her clue that it's not over and it's not what because he probably said, oh my gosh, I actually know someone who's done something like that because it was a holiday and the guy actually convinced one of my homegirls that like, oh, his woman left him with the kids over the holiday and he was so alone. And she was like, oh, you can come over and have, Thanksgiving dinner with me and my friends for Friendsgiving. Like all of this, like treating him like the total victim. Now, did you find it suspicious that he didn't want to spend Christmas with you and your children?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
What was his excuse?
He wanted to stay. And at the time, like I mentioned, we had gotten into that bad fight. And just to go back, because I have proof of this, there were text messages where I had asked him, I was asking him what's going on, because at this time I started seeing things in his stories. He was posting that he was out with Jennifer and other people. And I started asking him, what's going on? Have you moved on? He was texting me like, no, I haven't moved on. I just feel like we just need some time, some space apart right now. So he was making it as if we just needed to take a break.
Mm. Mm-hmm. A break with all his stuff in your apartment.
Right.
Can I ask you, how much was your rent and how much of it was he paying?
So the rent we were paying for that townhouse, it was over $4,000.
Girl.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And he was not paying it. Georgia Rental Assistance was paying it because he did not step up to the plate and support fully like he said he would. So
man, y'all were on welfare? Christian had y'all on welfare.
On welfare and food stamps, Jen. Yes. Food stamps too.
Food stamps. Okay, Jen doesn't know about food stamps, but her stepkids do. What the hell? Wow.
Yeah.
While he's wooing and whining and dying.
So you mean to tell me this lady went from making 6-figure deals to being on government assistance behind having back-to-back kids with this man? Like, did she stop working? Obviously, she had to have stopped working or something. Okay, let's continue.
And so let me also say, in this whole process, keep in mind, everybody, I shared my story in the beginning. I had been doing very well, but through the manipulation, putting out so much money to him, he's scheming and lying and telling me, oh, I need this for that. And, I have to, he even pulled the restitution card on me.
Whoa, girl.
He told me that he needed help with paying restitution. And he asked me to loan him $2,200. He also, I'm going to throw this out there, he also took the money that I had given him to put aside for our son and told me that later on, when I asked him, I said, listen, I kept asking him, where's the money? He kept ignoring me. He was like, oh, I used it for moving costs. So what
the heck does your infant son have to do with his
I told y'all that was his game plan with Jennifer when he was telling her that his restitution was, what was it, $50,000 or a quarter, $250,000 or whatever, that he was going to use her to give him some money to help, because he know how desperate she want to marry him, and use that money and pocket it. I told y'all that in my review. I told y'all that nigga. Like, Jennifer, if you go ahead with marrying this nigga, girl, good luck, Chuck. But that'll be your karma coming back. So that's why I don't feel bad for you, because you just as horrible as Evelyn and the rest of them. So
need to move, because if he could have kept his Peter in his pants, he wouldn't have needed to go anywhere.
Right.
And so, okay, I got a few questions. Okay, my ADD, I'm not taking my medicine right now because I can't. But that's another story. So when did you guys begin getting the housing? Okay, so it was my understanding he's supposed to be helping with the rent. He hadn't done so, but you guys applied for this housing assistance, right? And you qualify for it. I'll be honest with you. You guys, like I said, I let her come on anonymous, but before I do this, I confirm people's identity. And I think anyone watching you now, we know that you're telling the truth. We know that you are who you are. But I'll say, baby, I did a little background check on you, Pumpkin, and I saw you have an eviction on there.
Yes.
Tell us about that. How do you get an eviction with a $6 million net worth baby daddy? I'm in the kid.
So when we were getting the Georgia rental assistance, it only lasts but so long. So we were I will say he paid for 1 month. He helped out for 1 month of rent. And then Georgia rental assistance covered us for about 6 to 7 months. Now, everybody knows leases are usually 12, 13 months, right?
Yes.
So we had, it was March when that was the last month that we had to pay. And Georgia Rental Assistance had cut it off. Now, at this time, we had officially broken up. He was with Jen. He had moved on. I reached out to
so
him.
let me clarify. When he was talking about he had to take the baby's baby fund to move, was he moving out of y'all's joint place into Jennifer's?
This was before he did this. He did this back when we had broken up the first time and moved into the old apartment. So this was before where we were downtown.
At one point, y'all had 2 apartments, and he moved into the old apartment with the understanding that he was going to finish out that lease. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, you couldn't handle 2 leases.
Right.
So we moved into the old apartment, and then from the old apartment into Jen's bosom.
Into the apartment that we were at, yes. Left and packed one bag and moved in with her. Yes.
Got you. Now we got a little hole in the story. I understand this hole, but I want to make it clear for you guys. People's questions. Now, how did you go from having the $300,000 plus revenue, top 40 under 40 years, to being with Christian still and needing to be on public assistance? There's an important part of that story, because my understanding is you had an amazing job and Christian finagled and did some things and you lost your job.
So a part of it, and this is where I'm going to be honest, a part of it was me not making the smart decisions and trying to, quote unquote, stand by my man and be there with him and say, okay, we're going to do this together. So we were in the network marketing company. He connected to somebody new. What happened was the company that we were a part of previously had let him go. They threatened to let him go. He made a decision from there that he was going to branch off into another company. And he asked me to come along with him. Now, let me also say that I was in a bad space. I'm going through postpartum. I was depressed. I was dealing with a lot of different things. And at that point, even with how I was moving with the company, I wasn't operating the same because I was dealing with all those things emotionally. So he's telling me, okay, we're going to move. We're going to go do this. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go into the company. And this is how the trading started. This is how he learned how to trade. And I learned how to trade. Yeah. So this is where the trading started. So we got it. And this is how Alteria told the story before. This is how we all came together, because she joined the same trading company. Right. So I ended up walking away from the company, and I still believed that I would get residual income, because that was what was told to us. Like, we would still get residuals, but the company actually cut off my residual income because they were so upset that I walked away.
Okay, basically, and because you didn't have any issue with the company, but he persuaded you to come along with him as the ride or die, so y'all can go to the cemetery together. Just kidding, dark humor. I'm sorry, but to come along with him as a supporter, because I guess for visual purposes, it would have looked kind of crazy that he's claiming that this company is so terrible and horrible, and here you are continuing to excel at these high numbers. Now, it wasn't the same, 300K numbers as before, but basically it is your expectation. Because you guys, if you have not watched the Zoom call of Christian selling, I cannot tell you, I've seen multiple evidence. I've seen multiple calls. This man has an amazing gift of audibly communicating and convincing people to do whatever it is that he wants them to do. I've never seen anything like this. I think after his prison sentence, I think he'd be a great used car salesman. Oh my God. But basically he convinced you to go on. And what was your understanding of the new business y'all were going to start together?
So this was where we would come in and learn how to trade. We had already learned about Coinbase and how to invest in Bitcoin and watch your money grow. And so there was a very successful person we had followed on social media that had traded, and he was a part of this company, and we decided to move forward and join that company with him.
And was this another MLM?
Yes, it was.
Okay, got it. Before you continue, y'all hit that like button. I want to just let you guys know, to bring you up to speed. We are talking with the mother of Christian's 2 toddler children. She is bringing us up to speed. She's telling us about how basically what she shared with us before is how they met. That they met through an MLM business. She was a high earner. She was top 40 under 40. And today she's only 35. And this was years ago. You weren't quite 30, were you? When you were making like in excess of 300K in revenues?
Right. I was actually, I was coming into my 30s. Yeah.
Okay, coming into your 30s, you're making 300K. They're in the same organization. So Christian's aware of this. At this time, Christian's making about $2,000 a month. But he woos her. You know, he's very handsome. He woos her. He says all the right things. They move quickly. About 3 months in, she's pregnant. And about 6 months from dating, they decide to move in together and raise a kid. Then shortly after she's pregnant with the first one, or has the first one, she's pregnant again. And then when the baby is only, 2 months old, you begin to see signs that he starts to date Jennifer. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So she's brought us fast forward, including discussing the fact that at one point they were on welfare and they were on public assistance, Georgia housing vouchers, which is like a similar form of Section 8, to help pay the rent, because he couldn't help come up with his portion of it, of the rent that they had. Now, you meet in the entity. So you're doing it. He branches off. He starts the trading. Is that kind of how he creates his initial trading company that we see today?
Yes. So there was a young lady that was a part of that company that did that. She actually branched off and started her own company. So because she was very successful, he decided to go under her wing and learn more from her and become one of the students in her group. So her group charged about $75 a month. And he was learning with her for a few months before he actually branched off and started his own group. So when he started his own group, myself, as well as Arteria, several other people had joined his trading group. Now, at that time, he would drop what we call signals in trading, where you could plug in numbers yourself and you would start making profits as the market moved up and down. Okay. So people were actually making money and they're seeing, oh my goodness, these signals work. So more people started coming and joining the group. Now, he's charging people at that time anywhere between $500 and $1,000 to join. Okay. To join the trading group.
Okay.
So during this time, okay, we're starting to creep up closer to when I have my daughter and we move into breaking up. Once me and him break up, I decided to join the young lady myself so I could learn from her, because he would always convince me, oh, I'll show you what she teaches me, blah, blah, blah. So once I knew, okay, we're done, I want to learn from her myself, because I already knew he wasn't giving me everything anyway. He wasn't teaching me. So I ended up joining myself. And that's how I learned that she was only charging $75. Now, what I noticed was she's putting these signals out there. Like I explained to you guys what those are. She's putting these signals out there. And at the time, he had not removed me from his group. I'm seeing that the same signals that she's charging $75 a month for, he's dropping in his trading group and charging people $500 to $1,000 to join and trade with. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, do you know that this is happening? She tells me, well, I'm going to reach out to him and see what's going on. Whatever his gift of gab ends up bringing to her makes her upset. She comes back to me and says, well, I don't want to be in between you guys' mess. So he continues on with his group and he removes me from the group.
See, that's exactly how they do. I want to say like it's also like a really good prison strategy to create mess in prison or wherever, which is that you turn victims against each other. He's actually doing that with the victims of the current trading company that he has. It is my professional opinion that it is a scam. But I will reiterate that he has stated that it is not a scam, that he simply lost the money in the stock market, regular measures. I disagree. But what I am saying is it's very interesting that, like, for example, one of the things that should take place with trading is that you need to have regular communications that's shared with everyone. Okay. That's here's how, here are the numbers. Da, 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 da. One of the cues that somebody may not be doing something properly and is trying to get away with it is when they only want to communicate with you one-on-one. They only want to tell you one-on-one. They don't want to get everybody on a call together because why? Mm-hmm. Everybody will feel like everybody will realize ain't nobody got paid. Ain't nobody got paid. As long as you stay isolated, right? And he's only giving you a piece of the information, you feel like, oh, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only victim. Mm-hmm. Maybe other people are getting paid, maybe this and maybe that. In the same way that like when guys are dating like two women at the same time, they're like, don't talk to her, don't call her. But here you see the trading business. Did you start to begin to wonder if the trading company was legitimate?
I did. But at the same time, I saw too that at the time he was making people money. And so that's why I wasn't set like, okay, maybe because I knew his history and there was that question of, okay, is he supposed to be trading? But
that's what I was going to ask. What was your understanding? Like, was he telling people, hey, I'm a felon? Like, how did he even join the MLM company for the trading as a felon?
Yeah, he always shared his story. He did. Okay. He always shared his story. He actually used that.
That's how he
to build his
platform.
People.
Yeah,
gotcha.
To show like I went from this to that. If I can do it, you can do it too. Duh.
Gotcha. And I can see for a number of people that would look like authenticity for them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's doing the trading. You see that he's making money. Okay, so tell me about the money he contributes to the household.
So when we had first broken up, there wasn't any money coming to us. He wasn't helping me with the kids. And then I started, reaching out a lot. I was like, hey, at this point, I'm filing child support, which I did. I actually filed child support April of 2022. So
now hold on, before we get to that, when you say he wasn't helping, you said, so how is it that so I understand that a lot of trifling men, when they leave you, right, they don't contribute. But when you're in the same household before he has left and you are saying he's making money, how are you not getting none?
Oh, no, keep in mind the timeline. This is when he was already with Jennifer. They had broken up. Me and him had broken up. That's what I was saying. The whole situation where I had learned that, he was stealing the signals. We had already broken up at this time.
Okay, gotcha. So basically, while he was in the household with you, he was broken, not contributing, and you weren't really clear on how he was making money. But basically, he had the fledgling company where he was trying to trade. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And at this point, how come you hadn't gone back to the MLM that you were successful at?
Because they had kicked me out of the company too. They had cut off my residuals because
that's right. Oh, you said that.
Yeah,
okay.
They had, so I didn't, that wasn't an option. And at that point I was like dealing with them with that, like, cause that was not right that they,
you were going back and forth in that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I hope she all right. All right.
So he leaves. He's now with Jen. You find out he's trading. Now, what makes you feel that he's making people money? And I'll say that all Ponzi schemes, they make people money. It won't continue if you don't. Mm-hmm. And it is my personal opinion and professional opinion is a Ponzi scheme. Because a Ponzi scheme is just simply you take money, you make people, you give people some returns, and then to get them to invest more. And when they invest more, you don't necessarily do what you say you're going to do. So when you say you saw he was making people money, can you, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, as far as when the signals, and you were asking me previously about the trade signals and why what did I think that he was making people money. I'm talking about from the past, like when I was actually in the trading group, I saw that there were profits coming about from him, making, and that's why I said that about him making people money.
And did you
But
ever did you ever receive any as an investor?
No.
Okay.
No. No. When I was separated from him, I traded on my own. Like I said, I had joined the young lady, but as far as working with him at that point and trusting him, yeah, that was done.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Thank you. Make it make sense. Thank you for the super chat. He said he should have stayed silent on Basketball Wives. He really should have. He should. And just get those clients and do what he was going to do in the backstory. All right. So now, fast forward, we are now at the point. He's moved in with Jen. You guys are in your townhouse. Your Section 8, basically your housing, your welfare housing vouchers have run out. Mm-hmm. Girl, what do you do now?
So I actually moved in with one of his family members. I moved in with one of his family members, and me and my kids were literally like sleeping in a 1-bedroom with her at her home. And I had, gotten a new apartment. So I had gotten my own apartment, but we were there with her for a few months.
And because you got evicted.
We got evicted, yes.
Did Christian know you were going to get evicted?
Yes. So what was supposed to happen was he was going to give me half of what was owed. And we were supposed to turn the money into the leasing office on the 9th of March. He never showed up with the money. And at that point, as I told you guys, it was a high amount that was owed. And
March of what year? 2023?
Yes.
Okay, 23. Okay, last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
March of 2023. March of 2023, because so he was supposed to provide the money for that. And he did not, for the apartment.
Okay. And so then is that why you ended up getting evicted?
Yes.
Now,
because we couldn't pay the balance.
Now, he talks about being this Wall Street corporate America guy. When did that take place?
I don't even, is that what's going on here?
Yeah. So he referenced that. It seemed like he was referencing it prior to jail, prior to going to prison. And he talked about how he even got the prior girlfriend a job. But when I ran the background check and I looked at everything, he got the girl a job at Aldo's shoe stores in Lenox Mall, where he was working himself, slinging sandals. And so I think his version of corporate America is just a little bit different than the rest of us. His version of corporate America was selling shoes at Lenox Mall. It is a corporation, and it is in America. So I just wanted to clarify for those in the chat. Someone's like, what about that corporate job that he had? Yeah, that didn't exist. And then when you were with him, he was always self-employed, correct?
Yes. Yes. Right. Yeah. Allegedly. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I say it jokingly, y'all, but I mean it with my heart. You got to watch out when you have babies by men whose wages you can't garnish. Them self-employed. It's hard to get them to do right when they don't want to.
If it's anything people can learn from me, it is really, really do your research, do everything before you jump into relationships with these men. And like I said, get the healing work done beforehand before you even move on to a relationship. Because if you have abandonment issues and different things, you can easily be in situations where you're manipulated, and you'll see patterns of you dealing with the same guys over and over again until you do the work to heal.
Absolutely. And I want to hear about how it finally ended. And then we're going to talk about legally where you are. Are you working, as far as like child support, co-parenting, where you guys are today. So how did it finally end with you and him? And what was your understanding of when it ended?
So the child support case was going on, and we had several conversations back and forth about coming up with an agreement as far as how much he would pay. We were supposed to get everything legally binded and notarized and all of that. But
what did he verbally say he would pay?
he verbally said he would provide $2,200 a month.
Okay, for the 2 children.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I wanted to ask, what was your understanding of how much money he earned?
There were so many, based off of just doing my research, looking online and seeing what articles were saying. I saw a lot of articles stating that he was making 8 figures.
Right. Yeah. And under the law, for 2 children, you are entitled to approximately 25 to 30% of his income. Just a heads up. So for my issue is what you present to the public, you need to be paying 20-30% of that. You can't go around popping bottles every weekend with $5,000, $10,000 tables on the weekend, and you're giving your children too. Now, but
this should have been the storyline for Basketball Wives. This should have been what Evelyn was doing investigations on while she's sitting up here trying to figure out whether or not Jackie was a hoe on the hoe stroll. Next season, if they get picked up for another season, this needs to be the damn storyline.
If you are a hardworking man for Amazon, UPS, that too might be too much. It's all relative, right? So, but you agreed to 2. And I want to make sure that that's included just to see this is a reasonable woman here. It doesn't sound like you're, asking for $2,000 a month. You still got to get up and go to work, right? It's not like $2,000 is not going to make you a stay-at-home mom in a high rise.
Right.
So that sounds like, and thank you so much, Nubian Mahogany, Mr. $6 Million man. Exactly. So the 2 of you guys verbally agreed to, did you say 2,200 or 2,000?
2,200.
2,200 a month. What about health insurance? Was he going to provide that?
No. Actually, so I was working for a credit union, and I had everything covered under me, for my kids.
Okay, gotcha. All right, you are entitled to reimbursement for that too, just under the law. So we got that part. So you get the 2,200. Okay, so how much of the 2,200 a month has he been paying?
He was paying for about, it was 4 months. He was paying for about 4 months.
And then what happened?
And then he stopped sending money. He told me that he was going through so much financially and it was a lot going on and he couldn't give it to me.
What month was this?
This just happened. This was back in June. Yeah.
June of 2024. He's going through so much that he can't pay 2,200. Okay, he can't pay 2,200. What can he pay?
He has not sent me anything from that at all. Not even support with Pampers, not even anything. I mean, hasn't been time spent with the kids, nothing.
When was the last time he saw the children?
He saw them briefly for a day in May.
And
was it with Jennifer?
I believe that she saw them. But as far as spending like quality time, I don't believe so.
But my thing is, Jennifer, how you marrying a man that you know for a fact ain't seeing his damn kids? You trifling too, bitch.
Okay. You guys, you don't even talk about that. Correct? You don't talk about that necessarily.
No. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever had a conversation with Jennifer?
Briefly, yes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Apologies. Let me get my computer apparently just completely died on me, but let me keep going. All right. So you were talking about the $2,200 he agreed to pay. But this June, he just came out and started saying that that's too much money for him. He ain't got it.
He said that he couldn't pay it because he was waiting on money to come from the network.
Oh, money from the Basketball Wives network.
Mm-hmm. Allegedly, yes.
Now, it's also my understanding that they have sold their wedding special. And so, have you received anything from the wedding special money?
No. No Pampers, no wipes, no shoes, no clothes.
Okay.
Nothing.
How is the court case going with respect to you handling the child support case? Well, first of all, when did you file it? When did you realize, you know what, there's no more negotiating with him, this isn't going to work?
I filed it in April of 2022, and then they transferred it from Fulton County to Cobb County.
Okay.
To Cobb County in February of this year.
Okay. Now
throughout that,
have you had any hearings? Like, what is the status? And do you have a lawyer?
I do not have a lawyer yet. No, I've been trying to find someone, because at this point they weren't able to serve him for so long. They just served him June the 26th. And it was an ongoing case because he was traveling. He was back and forth, and they kept going to the address that they had on file, and he was not there, and they could not serve him papers.
This is ridiculous. All right. But this is, I just want this to be an example too for people out there. This is what happens when you don't have an attorney. And it's so unfortunate that this happened. You and I have talked, we've actually talked legal strategy offline, and I'm not going to put it on the air here because honestly, I don't want Christian to know necessarily what your strategy is. But I do want to make this very clear. Sometimes it can initially seem like, all right, I might be able to pursue this on my own, simply due to the fact that if you are, like, when you first start filing, sometimes the Attorney General's office can be really helpful. Is that what you initially used to file?
I filed, I filed through I went to the child support office. So I went to the child support office in Fulton.
Were you on any public assistance at the time that you did file?
I was.
See, here's what's interesting, y'all. If you're on any government assistance when you file, that's one of the only times where you can get help without a lawyer. And that's only because when you file for public assistance, they immediately want to, they make you name someone as the father. Did they make you state a father for the kids?
Yes.
When you did. And that's so that they know who to go after for reimbursement. Because see, they would rather not pay, welfare or food stamps for the child and just put the man on child support and do that. So oddly enough, the ironic thing is sometimes the best way to get child support is to go on food stamps. Now here, it sounds like he's been dodging, but again, a private attorney would be able to help you with that. But I'm assuming, you've lost your job. You've had bouts where you've been between work. The cost of a lawyer probably is too incredible.
Yeah, so my whole family is out of state, and it's been really hard because I don't have a lot of family. I don't really have any family support here. I have friends that do what they can, but they have their own lives. They have jobs, and kids. So I've been maintaining with my 2 kids, working from home with them. When I did have a job, my contract with the company I was working with just recently ended, but I'm still always pushing and continuing to move forward. Mm-hmm. But it's been really hard because once again, I had shared with him that I really needed his help because I was transferring to a new company, and I was going to need help as far as just getting the funds in June so that we can make sure the last month of the rent was paid, literally the last month before the lease was over, and he did not come through. So we're now in Airbnb just trying to pull things together. I have a friend that's helping me pay for it and until I can move. But it's been an ongoing process.
Go back home,
just trying to get back on my feet. But I'm not a quitter. I push really hard, and things are going to come together because I just I know I can't. He's not somebody that I could ever depend on as far as supporting with the kids, and that's sad to say because he's my children's father.
No, absolutely. And we have a comment in the chat. It was by Celebrity. She's saying we're filing a motion to haunt this ridiculous to halt this ridiculous wedding until he can pay this child support. And while we don't have time to get that motion filed, I will let you know that earlier today I filed with the court 10 FBI statements today. 10 separate FBI complaints, all of which were signed under penalty of perjury from various different victims. It has been received by the court. I contacted the court. They have confirmed receipt. So the judge is able to read all 10 of them. Now, there are more victims, but what I did was I went through and I submitted those that were completely ready to go and so forth today by a certain deadline that I had set because I wanted to make sure that's there.
Come on, Simone, doing God's work.
Also, I don't want you to forget as well that wherever, with this wedding special, and this wedding special has already been sold. So I have a feeling they're probably going to televise it, whether he can go to Paris or not. I don't know. Maybe the finale will be him going to jail instead of Paris. I don't know. But we need to help her, y'all, get an attorney so that the minute any more checks come in, that letter can be sent to BET or MTV or whatever network it is. Mm-hmm. Seize those funds until they are used properly for the kids. And that's because there's something under the law that says if you are been aware of a lien, meaning that somebody has owed money and you cut them a check before you ensuring that lien has been released, and you could be on the hook for that. So earlier in the show, I had my Cash App up. The Cash App that was up is Hattie's. It was Hattie's Brown Girls. I'm going to put it in the description below. That's how you can help Anonymous. This is a nonprofit entity because I understand some people are like, well, I don't know the person. This is a nonprofit entity that helps women who are in abusive situations get on their feet and support their children. These funds will be used for her to secure an attorney that is going to then help her secure child support, but as well as get into permanent housing and get situated in a healthy environment where you actually do have help. If you want to just say something briefly about Hattie's Brown Girls and why and what they mean to you, that would be great.
Yes, most definitely. So Hattie's Brown Girls, it's a phenomenal organization. It was actually founded by someone who she's based out of Maryland, and her mother was very passionate. She always went out into the community. She would feed homeless women and help so many young girls that were in the community. So she decided to take over it and move forward. Okay. And her passion is about really helping women and children that have been victims of domestic violence. She shares her story as well as provides a platform for other women to share their story and gain support. So I really stand by them, and I'm just appreciative of everything that they've done for me.
Y'all, I just have to say real quick, my apologies to Wanda Young. Wanda Young, you sent, it was actually a super chat. I was trying to put it on the screen, but I accidentally deleted you, I guess, from this chat. I'm going to fix that after the fact, but apologize profusely. Her comment was actually super supportive. She said the grandparents need to step up and help since their son is a bum. So I'm so sorry, Wanda. We'll fix that on the back end. But agreed. Have you had help from you mentioned the one family member that allowed you to stay with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's an aunt that was the one that let us stay with them, and she's been very supportive. But as far as anybody else from his family, no, we have not received support.
Now, is that the aunt that's stalking me, or is that a different aunt?
No. That's not her. And just for the record, that's not his blood aunt. And so I'll say, yeah, that's not his blood aunt. No.
Okay, I got you. Now, I have to ask, when was the last time that you guys were intimate?
Oh, God, Jesus Christ.
Oh, long time ago. We were, before we broke up, way before. Yeah.
Okay, so it was before you filed for child support and stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
For the record, no, I'm in a completely different mindset. I value myself too much to ever let that man come close to me ever.
Wonderful. When did you realize that for you had to step away from it and no longer give him access to your heart?
I really realized that I needed to step away when I had endured so much abuse, and then I saw how it was affecting my children. Sometimes, like seeing them and seeing how they weren't getting the love that they needed, seeing that he wasn't even willing to support them, I said to myself, for somebody like that, you can't even truly love yourself to not love your kids. So how can I expect you to love me? And that's when I decided to, step away. And I also realized that the picture that I felt like he painted in his mind about the person that he was, he truly believed. And I still believe from seeing this interview with Carlos King, I really believe that he thinks in his mind that he is doing the world a favor, that he's really helping people, that he's really a good person. And that's not true. And I know he may be listening in, and I'm going to tell you, you are not a good person. You are not a good person for abandoning your children. You are not a good person for showboating and lying and manipulating, not just me, but other women, other people scamming people out of their money, stealing from people. That's what you're doing. And that's not something that a good person does. And you need help. You need to get help. And I'm also going to say this, Simone, and I need to make this statement because it really made me upset. I would never respect another woman disrespecting a woman who has gone through abuse and making a mockery of her trauma. What was said by Jennifer
are you referring to? I think I know what you're talking about, but I want to hear it from you.
What was said from Jennifer on Basketball Wives about that girl that he went to jail for, that was completely disrespectful. And any little ounce of empathy that I may have had for her, because from relating and knowing what abuse and trauma looks like, I lost it completely when I saw that.
And y'all, what Anonymous is referring to is that Jennifer had made the statement of, he was trying to help the ex from not driving drunk. He should have just gave her the keys and let her hurt herself. It would have been better than him having to go to jail for all that. That's the kind of logical thinking that she was displaying and that we're talking about. Now, as you think about that, do you have any concerns about what kind of a stepmother she would be?
Oh, of course. Of course. I'm sorry, but my children, I will do everything in my power, if whatever I need to do to make sure that my children are not in her presence, ever.
Shit, and his neither.
I cannot trust
you
a
ain't got to
woman
worry
like
about
that to ever
if the daddy don't want to be bothered,
around my children.
Shit, she ain't gonna be bothered.
Never. Good. No, sorry about that. I lost you for a second.
No problem. It was my fault. No, I wanted to ask, we talked about violence. We know that he was mentally abusive. Did he ever get physical with you?
No, he didn't.
Okay, gotcha. Did you ever see levels of anger that made you concerned, having known he previously went to jail for the false imprisonment?
Yes, I did.
What did that look like?
It's like seeing someone, it's like a look in their face, where it's almost like it's just this evil expression where you just don't know what could possibly happen next from there. And I know that there were a lot of times that we had very heated arguments, that got very bad. And so let's just say that I'm glad that the relationship ended when it did.
I hear you. Now, you mentioned briefly that you only spoke to Jen briefly. Can you tell us about that conversation?
Yeah, when I spoke to her, it was more so of a conversation just to introduce myself, because at the time I, was willing to allow the children to spend time with their dad. And I knew that at this point they had a relationship. So now I wanted to know, okay, well, who is she? And I see all this stuff on TV, but let me meet her for myself. So we had a very brief conversation, and it was short. I wanted to make sure that if my kids were around her, that she would, provide the same love and care, and nurturing that I would expect, any woman that he is with to provide, in their lives. And just based off of talking to her, I didn't feel confident. It was very surface. The conversation just was very, oh yeah, well, this is what, people do in relationships when someone starts dating someone. Everything, we have to meet each other because, he's the kid's father. It's the same thing. If you were to get into a new relationship, he's going to have to meet the man in your life. But it wasn't
Right.
a lot of what I wanted to hear was, you know what? I'm looking forward to building a relationship with them. I'm excited to spend time with them. What is it that I needed to know about the kids? It wasn't any of those types of questions. It was just very vague.
Gotcha. Now, how did that conversation though come about? Did Christian suggest it? Did you get her number from Christian? What happened there?
I told him. So it was a while. It took a while before I was comfortable enough to have the conversation, just because I knew how everything had started. And let me just say it outright, Simone. If I would have had that conversation with her sooner, it would have turned into probably a really bad argument. And so I wanted to make sure I was in a good mental space to have that conversation. Okay. So it was me making the suggestion, not saying that he was opposed to it, because he told me he did want her to meet them. But I wanted to wait and make sure that I was in a good space to talk to her.
Was this after they were engaged?
Yes.
Okay. So you reached out to Christian, you said, hey, I think this would be a good idea. And then he gave you her phone number?
We didn't know. So he called her from, I never had her phone number. So that's the thing. Just, always keeping the victim separate. Right. So we never had each other's phone number, but but he called, he called me, and then I spoke to her from his phone.
Gotcha. And y'all, because I'm doing this from my phone, I'm having trouble tapping. But one of the other companies. Here we go. Now I can see them. Here we go. Is yes. Hold on, we got. Oh, Anita D. There we go. Now I figured out how to do it. Anita D said, I feel bad for Jen, but you really saved her a lot of money, heartache, and pain, especially if she doesn't have a prenup. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. As well, this is a great question from Seymour. Do you have contact with the oldest son?
No, and it's not that I have not taken the initiative to try to get our kids together. I'm really big on family, so I wanted to be able to introduce myself and connect our kids together, but that has not happened, unfortunately.
And then we're about ready to wrap up, but I have basically two main questions that I have left, which are, what are your concerns about Christian raising and co-parenting with you into the future and raising these children together?
So my concerns is that I don't believe it's possible to co-parent. I feel like when you're talking about co-parenting, both people have to be in a mature place to be able to work well together, to be open to sharing responsibility. And as I've mentioned earlier, I've been taking on the load. It has not been any shared responsibility. And even knowing that I've tried this before, it wasn't possible. We just could not see eye to eye. And he was not stepping up and doing what he needed to do. So it's not possible. And at this point, everything has to be legal. I don't trust that process of co-parenting.
Are you concerned about him going back to prison, possibly tomorrow, and his ability to support the kids if that happens?
Simone, what all has happened with this situation and hearing about these victims and what he's stolen from people, Nobody, of course, I don't want to say, because my kids may watch this years down the line, I don't want to say, yes, he deserves to go to prison, but at the same time, he deserves to go to prison. I'm sorry. But with everything that he's done and how he's manipulated people and taken advantage of people, my kids one day will learn for themselves. But you can't do things like that and just think that you're going to get away with it. So it hurts my heart to be in this position because this is my children's father. But we all have to we all have to take responsibility for our wrongdoings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, finally, I guess my last question for you before we go, and I thank you so much for your time. You guys hit that like and hit the notification button. For those of you watching, I want to know if you could send Jen a message, if you could tell her anything based on your experience, based on what you learned, what would you want to tell Jennifer?
I would tell her I know that you have already seen signs. I know that you have already been exposed to things. My advice to you would be to stop ignoring them. Stop ignoring the signs, because literally being in a relationship with a person who has narcissistic traits and behaviors, it's a cycle. It does not get better. And you're hearing from me. And in a way, hopefully this is a wake-up call for you. That's all I have to say. But also, no more like making a mockery of other women's pain and disrespecting other women, because that was not okay.